Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucas, and what do we have right next to me? This is the GIBSON FALCON 20. This amp just came out, and yes, I wanted to be one of the first videos that goes through this amp in the thorough way, right? I mean, of course, Gibson and everybody else, every guitar store that has a YouTube channel has posted some sounds of this amp, and yes, I will record myself playing this amp too, but I wanted to also record the smaller details that some of these videos tend to miss. Like, I'm gonna open up the amp, I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like on the inside. I'm even gonna show you the reverb tank. Stuff that, you know, some of us, like me, like these kind of things. I like seeing these kind of things, and you know, some people don't like to take the risk of purchasing an amp and then potentially not liking it or not liking what they see on the inside internally, but I wanted to take a risk. And let me tell you guys, I do like how this amp sounds, and I think just, I'm not an amp tech, but I think it was really well built. It feels like a quality amp, a sturdy amp. Let me talk to you guys about the little things, right? So one of the things that I've really liked about this amp, not talking about the sound, is the manual. This that comes with the amp. Let me show you something. I collect manuals for all of the amps that I've owned, even if I don't own them anymore. And let me just pull, let's see, I have the Vibrochamp, which was one of the amps I reviewed a while back. I was one of the first people that was actually able to show a video of this amp. This is the Vibrochamp manual. It's black and white. It just, you know, it's okay. It's your basic Fender reissue manual. It does go through details, and it does come in a bunch of different languages. But for the most part, it just feels like they kind of just, you know, it just kind of stapled something together. And all of the reissue manuals are like this. Let me see, I have even a Vox. This is the AC-15 manual, I think, when I used to have an AC-15. Yeah, it's pretty thorough, but it's just a piece of paper that they staple together, yeah? So it's not that interesting. But Gibson, and I don't know if they do this for their guitars. I don't know if they do this for anything else. This is the first time I've ever owned anything Gibson. Because for the most part, up until now, Gibson has always been out of my price range. But look at this. It's not just a piece of paper that was stapled together. They have like a little edge thing here. It feels like you're holding a genuine manual. And you know, I flipped through this, and it's very thorough. It talks about the history of the amp. It talks about hints for the amp, how to protect your amp, what everything does, what every single knob, what every single input, everything. Not only that, but you get suggestions like, here, if you want like a vintage clean sound, here's what you can do. And I know some other guitar manuals may do this, but I feel like when you spend money on an amp, you really want to look out for these things, because this is what shows that they care about their product. And let me share something to y'all that you probably don't care about, but I work in a retail environment, and we really put a lot of effort into how we present our product. So I look at product like this, and I see, how does a company present their product? Do they put a lot of effort in the little details? Do they not? And obviously you get the warranty card, but look at this, a really nice patch. When have I ever bought a Fender that ever gave me a cool patch? This is just a really cool touch. I don't own a jacket that I could actually, you know, put this on or anything, but this is really sweet. You know, this is like a little plus that they throw at you, you know, for the customer, and I really appreciate that. So this is a really nice manual. It sticks out. It's bright orange. It's not white, and you know, it's cool. I like this touch. The other thing that they did, which I'm not sure if this is something that I should be saying, but in this piece of paper that came with my manual, you have obviously the Falcon 20 and the Falcon 5 that came out, but I'm seeing something here that hasn't been talked about, and that is the dual Falcon 20. What is that? I haven't heard an announcement about the dual Falcon 20. Is that something upcoming? Who knows? But I think that's, you know, Pretty awesome. Of course, you get your amp cover. Nice, right? And the cool thing about that I noticed about Gibson is that their logo is to the right. Fender's is always to the left. So this is a little tongue-in-cheek, but I think it's pretty funny and it's pretty cool, and it's another way to separate yourself from the competition. And then you got yourself a very nice foot switch. But you know what else is really cool about this? It's a detachable cable. This is basically a guitar cable. This is basically a free guitar cable if you don't like using foot switches for the reverb and the tremolo. Here's your cable. They just gave you one. That's so cool. Fender reissue foot switches are not the nicest. They're very prone to failing, and that cable is not detachable. So you got to buy a whole new one. But look, this is detachable. This is so nice. And this is not that far off from a Fender Deluxe Reverb price point wise. It's a few $100s more, but in my opinion, for what you're paying for, a few more $100s, I like this. I like this, you know, already. Presentation wise, I like the way this is. This is good, you know? This is good. This is the kind of thing that you would want when you pay money for these type of amps. I'm gonna put it back in the little bag just cause. I will definitely use it, you know, to show that it works. But for now, I'm gonna show you guys some up close shots of this amp. I'm gonna show you the back of the amp. I'm gonna show you what it looks like on the inside when you open it up. This amp does have a fan, and I'm not really able to really get a good shot of the fan because it's really in the back. But you know, I'll record the decibels of how much you hear that fan when you turn on the amp. I'll show you guys the reverb tank because why not? It's right there, might as well show that little extra detail. But let me tell you something, I really like this amp. I really believe in it. I don't like to do videos on products that I don't believe in. Now, whatever happens in the future, whether this amp doesn't really do well or whatever, what have you, I think it's worth checking out. So this is why I have it. I want to bring it to you guys. So let's go ahead. Let me show you guys those close-up shots really quick. And then after that, we're going to take a listen to what it sounds like. All right, let's go. So here's the assembly card. You can see the assembly and the inspection, all these really interesting signatures on it. And then the 5-year warranty card as well. You flip it over and it says Gibson amplifiers. Cool logo, by the way. You know, that little thing off to the side. You got your standby switch, your power switch, the attenuation switch, the frequency and the depth for the tremolo, the reverb, the tone, and the volume. You got one foot switch and 2 inputs. You know, I really like that this is just a tone knob on the amp and not just like a treble and bass, because I feel like I overthink things and the tone is just perfect in my opinion. It helps me to really narrow things down. And you know, the full half and low attenuation thing, even on low, this amp is still pretty loud. Here's the back of the amp. You're going to see here the power tubes are in this little black cage. You got your reverb and shield up above, the monitor, the 2 4-ohm outs and the 8-ohm out, which the speaker is connected to. And here's the little red caution thing that is in this amp. It looks like it's a Mesa Boogie thing. It's basically just telling you this is a loud amp, you know, make sure you're not around high volumes for too long. And then how to use your standby switch, which is a nice touch. I like that. You got your 12-inch Jensen Alnico speaker, it looks like. Really cool looking speaker. It looks really nice. I've never seen it before. And then here is the point of controversy with these amps, which is the tubes are mounted to the PCB. Well, at least, you know, the 12AX7s are. And I am not an amp tech, but apparently it's controversial. And then you got your power tubes also mounted to a PCB board. I guess the concern is whether or not the heat will transfer to these PCB boards and it will go bad. And I guess we will see. Maybe an amp tech can chime in this video and say what they think. Again, Mesa power tubes. 12AX7s are also Mesa. Yeah, you're going to see me pull out one of these tubes in a second. I just want to see how sturdy they were. But, you know, the other thing that somebody had brought up, I think on Reddit forums, is that this is awfully close to the capacitors. Isn't that a little dangerous? I guess they really don't want you in this amp. They don't want you to be the one that does the things, you know, take it to an amp tech or whatnot. But it is awfully close there. And people do mess with tubes a lot. Tube rolling is a real thing. So I don't know if they even thought of that, and they really should have, because, yeah, those capacitors are very close and you wouldn't want to get shocked. Scott Miller, I guess, is the one who put this together. That's his signature under the chassis. Here's the reverb tank. There's a little rubber grommet off to the side that's holding it in place even more. It's a small reverb tank, but it sounds really cool. And back there where I'm pointing is where the fan of the amp actually is. It's right behind the chassis. And here is the reverb tank. You'll see here in a second, I'm going to flip it over. It's a 3-spring reverb tank. It sounds nice in my opinion. You guys are going to hear it soon. It surprises me how you can do a lot with just a short little reverb tank. I'm used to like the medium-sized big reverb tanks and Fenders. This is really nice. And then back here, it's a cool, interesting note. It says, to maintain the warranty, use the Mesa tubes. So I guess use your Mesa tubes. Hello guys, so what you're seeing here is obviously the amp. You're not going to see me playing my guitar, of course. You will be seeing me turning the knobs on the amp so you can see what I'm doing in real time, which is really neat. And I also have the foot switch here. And let me show you something. So reverb, green, and it makes kind of a popping sound when you turn it on. And then the tremolo is orange, which really cool. So yes, I'm going to play my Fender Stratocaster right now for the clean sounds. And I do have the attenuation on low because this is a very loud amp and I kind of want to get it, you know, sounding really good. So I have the volume a little higher than I would if I had it on full. So yeah, I'll do the Fender Stratocaster first and then I will plug in my Epiphone Casino to give you guys some turned up, overdriven sounds, and for a very short brief period of time because like I said, this amp is crazy loud and I live in an apartment and I have neighbors, so I need to be very conscious of that. So I'm being a decent human being here, so don't get at me for not leaving it cranked for too long. I'm trying my best here. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and start. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead now and plug in my Epiphone Casino. So give me one brief second. I'll be right back and I'll plug into input 2. Okay, I'm back, plugged into input 2. I'm gonna go ahead and turn up this volume. I'm gonna do this very briefly because like I said, it's very loud. And I'm gonna dial up something really cool here. So give me 1 second while I do that, then I'll turn up the volume. Yeah, so this amp can literally just explode when you turn it up. It's insane. All right, let me give you guys my final thoughts. I know that was very brief, but it's the most I can do for y'all, and hopefully that's enough to give you guys a taste. So let me just go ahead and give you guys my final thoughts. See you in the next slide. All right, well, welcome back. Let me give you guys my final thoughts on this amp. So, you know, I've been giving it some thought. I've actually had this amp for almost a week now, and I debated on maybe returning it. And the truth is, I'm not returning this amp because it's in a class of its own, for real. Let me tell y'all something. This amp, if you were to tell me, hey, do you want a deluxe reverb over a Gibson Falcon 20, the reissue deluxe, I would say, give me the Gibson Falcon 20. Why would I say that? Well, I don't need to clip a bright cap. I don't need to change the speaker. And frankly, it has an attenuator. And although it may not be, you know, it may not be good for apartment use when you're trying to dime this amp, but for some slight overdrive, you know, not like explode. You heard how this amp explodes when you really turn it up. If you're not trying to have it just explode, you just want to get some slight overdrive, this is still a good option. This is still a very, very good option. I don't really know how it takes pedals because I don't feel the need to use pedals with this amp. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I don't feel the need to use pedals with this amp. The overdrive is insane. You don't get that with Vox. You don't get that with Fender. You don't. You really don't. So this to me is kind of a no-brainer. And I say that a lot in my channel, a no-brainer. It's an obvious, you know, choice. Obviously, everybody is different, but for me, this kind of ticks all the things. The only thing that I would complain about is the fact that the tubes are on the back, on the circuit board, slightly dangerous area. Of course, if you proceed with caution, as you should with any amp that you open up, you'll be okay, but I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking when they mounted those tubes on the back like that. I'm sure they were thinking about many things. But I guess they assumed nobody is going to service this. Nobody who wants to service their amp is going to touch those tubes because they should last. And I guess that's what they're thinking. But for those of you that love to swap out tubes, be very careful because it doesn't seem like it's the safest thing. But for me, I think the tubes are fine. I think the speaker is fine. There's nothing about this amp that I would ever want to change out. I didn't really give you guys a decibel thing for the fan because I thought it was kind of redundant. Like when you record the amp, you don't hear the fan, and when you hear it when you turn it on, but when you start playing, your playing drowns it out. it's very subtle. Like you do hear it, but it's a little subtle. It really shouldn't be a thing that is the deciding factor of whether or not you want this amp. And it's the perfect size too. It's just slightly wider than a Princeton. I always felt that if a Princeton had I know they make 12-inch speakers for a Princeton, but I don't know why I feel like the 12-inch versions of the Princetons don't sound anywhere near as good as a 10-inch. And that just may be me. I feel like the 10-inch version, if you're gonna play a Princeton Reverb, you gotta play it with the 10-inch speaker. It just feels like it was built for that. But I always felt like if they just made a Fender amp that was slightly wider than a Princeton with a 12-inch speaker, it would be awesome. This is the one. I mean, it's louder than a Princeton, but this is the one. Like for me, this is the one. And yeah, don't feel bad if you're a person that wants to buy this new, because this is a new amp. I think it's worth it. For what you get with a deluxe Reverb, brand new Fender reissue, this to me makes more sense. It just does. It feels like it should appeal more to the player. Even if they are, old school, it's still modern with the attenuator. And I don't know, I just feel like this is such a great amp. I can't help it. I would choose it over the reissues any time of the day. Sue me. I mean, I would. They knocked it out of the park with this amp. It's the truth. You get the nice foot switch, sturdy foot switch, cable that is basically your guitar cable. It's a great looking amp too. Just maybe the tube thing might be a questionable thing. If they have found a way to make the tubes not mounted like that, this would have been, people would have, I'm just getting ahead of myself here, but this would have been amazing. It's still amazing, but I love this amp. I can officially take these things off because I'm keeping this amp. It's mine. It does that exploding thing really, really well. I'm so sorry I couldn't have made that last a little longer. I feel like one of these days, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna ask my parents very nicely. I know I live on my own now, live in an apartment, but whenever you're out of town, can I go over and turn this thing up? Because God, it just sounded like it wanted to explode. Wow, it's so cool. That was the first time I heard it. Believe it or not, that was the first time I turned it up and heard it. It was the same time you guys heard it. Woof, man. God, wow, so great. Okay, well, that's it. This is my honest reaction, honest opinion, I swear. I'm not upselling it or anything. It's just, I really like this amp. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in for all of my videos. I really put my neighbors in an uncomfortable position with me turning this amp. So if you could subscribe for the sole fact that I was able to get that for you guys, I would appreciate it. But thank you so much. I will see you all in the next video. You guys are too kind. Thank you for my new subscribers as well. I hope you're enjoying this channel. There will be more stuff to come. Thank you so much.